Hi, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of the Coin, where we are going to have a special episode today. We're going to drop some names. We're going to talk about players. We're going to make our guests really uncomfortable and really come out of the shell and talk about what they really feel. First of all, before we start, massive welcome to Matisse. As you know, brother, this is your third time here. I love having you here. And massive welcome to James as well. Thank you for coming in for the second time. And both of you together, I just feel the electricity in this episode already. So I'm so overwhelmed by this. Quick mention to Eli and Hale for joining. Hopefully more people will join down the track. Guys, comment as you go ahead. If you want to ask any questions, throw it in, then I'll say it out. But first of all, Matisse, how do you feel, man?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back on here again. You know, whenever I'm on here, this is no joke. I just enjoy myself so much. I just end up saying some crazy stuff. You're good at opening up your guests, getting the good juices out. I'm telling you.
Nice. James, man, what's happening, brother?
It's so good. So good, mate. It's good to be back because last time was so good. So it's like we had some great combos. So
exactly,
the three of us, some fire's going to go down.
It's going to be lit. Welcome to Ramit as well. Thanks for joining, man. So first of all, boys, I'll just do a quick rundown of the things that we're going to talk about. First, a quick touch up on the match review on against Lille in the Champions League. We'll talk about Willian. We want to talk about Reece James, Calamatanadoy, Mount, Kepa, Pulisic, and finish off with this topic of positivity versus negativity in football Twitter. So lots to talk about. So let's get cracking along. Welcome to the other side of the coin, Michaela. Thanks for joining as well. All right. First of all, Matisse, I want to ask you about our match against Lille, and I'll touch base with James right after you. What I want to get out of you is when the lineup came out, what were your thoughts from the get-go? How'd you feel about some of the names that you saw, and what was your feelings around that?
It's mixed emotions because, you know, you're happy that Reece James gets onto the pitch in his debut. I didn't even think that was possible. You know, I thought maybe it's too early for him. Same with Kante as well, coming back as well. So, you know, I was buzzing to see them. But then it's one of those things, Lampard's very good at doing this. He's a little bit of a magician, this man, you know. He gets you in the first 2 seconds and you see everyone, you're like, this is a brilliant lineup. I love everything about it. And then you start scrolling through the timeline and you start listening and people have noticed things that you haven't. And suddenly there's a change of formation. You're like, wait, what? What are you doing? What's going on? And then you're like, wait, where's Pulisic? Oh, he's not even in the squad. Oh, that's a surprise. And then you're like, oh, we're playing a back three. Who's going to be the sweeper? Oh, there's no Christensen. Zuma. Oh, this is going to be brilliant. And it goes from a very good lineup to a pretty. I'm going to say interesting. If you came for the swear words, you're going to have to wait a little longer than that. All right. So the lineup was nuts. Everyone was like, what formation is it? It was obviously 3-4-3 for me. Like, he's never going to stick Reece James at LCM. So I don't know why that was even a question. But then the fact that he keeps changing formation, I'm not feeling it. Because even when we switched again during the game, which we'll talk about later, we got better, right? So 4-3-3 for me is the formation. It's so clear now. We're just better in that formation and chopping and changing. Look, I like flexibility as much as the next person, but there's being not flexible enough, which was Sarri last year, not changing it enough. And then there's too flexible, which is what Lampard is starting to drift into. And there's no real consistency to anything because it's just, right, one day we can be playing 3-4-3. The next day it's 4-3-3. The next day we're playing 9 up front with no centre backs. Next day we could be playing 12 players on the pitch when you're only allowed to submit 11. It could be anything. I'm tired, man.
I think that's because you haven't been sleeping. I don't think that's the formation. On that note, though, thank you for that quick recap, Matisse. I must say, you've nailed it, man. Like, when I looked at the lineup, I was like, wow, what a mind-blowing lineup. This is so good. But as you said, I started looking at the timeline. I'd actually even forgotten to see that Pulisic wasn't even in the squad. Like, he's so far back in my mind at the moment that I haven't even noticed that until I actually started seeing people tweet about that he's not in the squad. And you're right. The first 5 minutes I was buzzing. I was like, wow, Reece James is starting and all of the other stuff that you've mentioned. And then quickly I was like, oh, I don't really know about this, man. Like, don't really appreciate the 3-4-2-1, whatever the formation is. And quickly, the reality struck. But nonetheless, obviously we won. Now, James, in regards to the formation, obviously we touched a little bit about it. How do you think we went with that formation and the performance that we had overall in the match? Personally, I feel like that wasn't our best match, but what was your perspective, man?
I mean, when we started with 3 at the back, we were okay. I mean, we were dominating the game at the start, where we sort of like Tomori when he's pinging the ball in, sort of with a lot of space at the back, which is okay. But then you've not got anyone other than Tomori who can actually pass the ball. So you're just sitting pinging it about at the back, and no one's doing anything. It's really static. And it was not until Tomori actually moved forward and then got that ball into Tammy that we actually started creating some proper chances. And it was Reece again out wide, whipping balls in. Everything else, it was sort of really one-dimensional in terms of what we were actually producing on the pitch. And then once we changed to the 4 at the back, which is obviously our best formation by a mile, you could see the game opened up. We were creating more chances, and that's where you saw with the introduction of Hudson-Odoi as well. It just seems better. That 4-3-3 is just so much better. It just suits the team better, and we play there. We create more chances, create different chances in terms of how they're created. So it's much better once we switched, I think.
Why do you reckon Frank opts for that 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-1, whatever the formation is, 3 at the back? What does he offer that? Like, I don't understand. Why is he going for that?
I think he's really, really concerned in terms of clean sheets, because we've seen that it's with Kepa yesterday. He was much more confident after he kept that clean sheet against Brighton. You could see it in his play. So I think Lampard's clearly worried about the defensive issues, and sticking 3 at the back obviously gives you a bit more protection, but going forwards it limits us a lot in terms of, especially with the defenders we had out there. Even if Christensen was in for Zuma, it would be slightly better, but it just seems too defensive. It's sort of too cautious, I think. It doesn't really suit us as well as the 4-3-3. So I don't know. I think he's sort of being overly cautious, really.
Matisse, what do you reckon, man? What's your thoughts on the performance? Go on.
Yeah. With the formation, like as James just said, you know what? My issue with it is to play 3 at the back. Those centre backs, as James just said, they need to be so damn good on the ball. Not average on the ball, not keeping the ball, good on the ball. They need to be Tomori second goal against Norwich, I think it was, when he moved up the pitch. This was after his goal, right? He moved up the pitch, zoomed straight into the midfield, and then linked up and then found Abraham. That's how good they need to be, because you're sacrificing a centre midfielder. So you need creativity from the defence. That's what David Luiz was doing when he played in the back 3 under Conte. He was in the middle, spraying balls left and right. No centre-back in that back 3 can be average on the ball. They all need to take part in some sort of build-up play or some sort of creating chances format. And as you know, Tomori was really the only one who looked like he was comfortable. And that's not a disrespect to Zuma, because I think we've all worked out by now Zuma's not exactly comfortable. Like, he doesn't exactly see the ball and he's like, right, this is my opportunity. Now I'm going to spray it. I'm going to deliver everything. Like, he just gets it and he just moves it on. And he doesn't always give it away. Sometimes he puts in a good pass out to the right-hand side and it's all great. But there's moments where we get the ball and there's opportunity to move further forward. There's space and it's not taken advantage of. And then it's just laid off. And that's when the formation becomes defensive, because then there's literally no creativity going there. And it's so much harder to keep the ball in the second phase when there's only 2 centre midfielders. It's so much harder, because literally Jorginho's he's got one less option, right? Instead of having 2 people, he's now only got 1. And the game just becomes way more predictable than it usually is. So I'm not a fan of the 3 at the back until we get centre-backs that can really pass out the back, like, properly. Even Christiansen in recent games has given the ball away quite a bit as well, that I noticed. So it's dodgy in that respect. But I also feel like he might even be doing it because he doesn't want to drop Azpilicueta. If he's going to bring Reece James into the team, like we all want, he's dropped the captain. We seen last season with Sarri dropping Cahill. It didn't go down well with the fans. Not obviously, I don't expect Stamford Bridge to react like that, but we even heard in Espinaqueta's quotes little bits of it, and everyone was like, "Oh, Aspie, he's so helpful. He's gonna." He said that him and James played different positions as well in those quotes. Everyone kind of glanced over that because they were like, "Oh, Aspie's just gonna step down and submit, and he's just gonna bend over for Reece James and let him have it." No, they played different positions. That's what he said, and I was like, "Oh, damn it! That means both of them are playing." So yeah, it's actually crazy how everyone's going to manage to squeeze their way into this team with three at the back. In terms of the performance, it was first half. It's the same as Brighton, right? It's kind of frustrating because once again the team are there for the taking, and we're almost getting the clear cut chance, but we're not quite getting it. Abraham missed a chance there, and Mount in the first half missed a great opportunity. And the reason why I was so annoyed in particular with Mount is because that's his bread and butter. Like his finishing has got to be good, because there's moments in the game where he can go missing, or if he does get the ball, he doesn't always create something, right? That's what a lot of issue people have with him. Now, obviously, I respect what he does because I see the off the ball work, I see the pressing, I see the creation of chances through actually pressing high up the pitch and putting people under pressure, which other people don't seem to really respect. But when he has opportunities in front of goal, like he did there, he has to have way more composure. And that's why in the end the game was tight, because if we just taken our chances, as same thing with Brighton, this game it's not a debate who wins this game. Whereas as per usual, it's like nip and tuck when it really shouldn't be.
Spot on, man. I think you're right. I'll have to agree with you in terms of the formation, that I feel he's doing it to accommodate certain things. I do understand what James said as well in terms of keeping clean sheets and keeping it tight, but at the same time, I feel like he's trying to accommodate for few players that are not so well equipped with the four at the back, and he's doing this. Like I personally think he feels really, really worried having Alonso in a back four. He feels far more comfortable having Alonso in a back three with the wing back situation, and similarly with Aspie as well. Now, which makes me think that he's being compromised here. But at the same time, he's being pragmatic. This is what he's been given, and this is the best he can get out of it. And for me, I think both of you guys are right. Like, it's not the most prettiest formation. It doesn't, as you said, we need ball-playing creativity from the back, and we don't have that besides Tomori. So it limits us. And we saw that against Lille. It really, really limited us. I feel like someone like Kovacic in the middle could have been so effective and control the midfield, and would have been far better going forward, as opposed to constantly just stuck in that sort of, our final third. So yeah, having said that, let's now move into some of the player performances, which, as we go, we're going to talk about the team performance as well anyway. I want to talk about Willian, right? And I'll go with James first. Now, I think you guys all have seen my tweets. We've all seen your tweets. A lot of the people that have joined us today would have seen our tweets about Willian. Now, personally for me, I've said it a few times that he seems to have everything, but then nothing at all. So ultimately, for me, he's just nothing. It's like saying, I can do a whole heap of different tricks and whatnot, but then I don't have any end product. I think I had a tweet the other day about my work colleague calling me Willian. But having said that, last two games, he's really come through with the goals, especially today. I feel like that 3-point was so massive. And a lot of people were praising Callum Hudson-Odoi with the assist, but that finish, regardless of the assist, that finish needed to, it needed that type of finish to get a goal, basically. So what's your thoughts around your perception of Willian, and can he actually, change down the track? No,
he can't change. Like, we've seen it for 7 seasons now. He's a nothing player, isn't he? Like in the final third, like he'll get there. We saw against Valencia when he was really, really good. Like turns to get into the final third, and then every time passes wayward, shot into Rosed, and it's just it's crazy. Like, but then to be fair, the last few games he's added goals, but that's what you want to see from him in terms of what he can actually offer, because he can get to the final third well, like in dribble through a few players, but then that final ball is always missing. But
Fair point.
against Brighton, we saw the goal, but then set pieces were terrible. He couldn't cross. First corner, hit the first man. Like
But you must say, for Brighton as well, like the finish, albeit deflected, he had to do a lot even after the pass from Calamatanadoi. He had to take it forward and whatnot, and today as well. So I guess credit due where
it's the purple patch thing again, isn't it? Like he had that. Was it 2018? Everybody that month when he scored against Barcelona. That was that month of the season where he was on fire, and now he's had a couple of good games, and everyone's like, "Oh, he should start, best player in the world." Like he's still terrible. Like it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like he doesn't offer as much as someone like Hudson-Odoi or Mount. He's very 50-50.
Fair enough. I think we know exactly what you feel about Willian. Now, on to my man, Matisse. Tell us everything you feel about Willian, man. Just let it all out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But you know what? This, based on his game, it was funny because in my full-time thoughts, I posted on Twitter, as you said, like we post on Twitter a lot about this guy. And I left Willian out of my full-time thoughts. I left Tammy Abraham as well. So it was like a social experiment. I knew what I was doing. And the amount of people that came into the comments and just went absolutely berserk because I didn't praise Willian in the final thoughts was incredible. Wow. And I've never seen so much support for a player with stats like him that have so much behind him of why we're not exactly drinking the Willian tea right now. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, let me see now if anybody gives a shit, because probably not, right? I can leave 2 goal scorers out because they're not exactly. I'm not one that just sees the goals, right? I see the whole game. So people will see 2 crosses from Marcus Alonso and they'll be like, Matisse. I'm like, wasn't really good in general play there when the ball came to him and it was a 2v1 and he just passed it back. But you didn't see that, right? Because you're ball watching. You're not actually watching. You're not watching off the ball stuff, whatever. So. Willian, I'm going to be nicer than James because James, I'm not going to lie, just like dragged him through the mud. Twitter off that one, boy. There's things I like about Willian and there's things I really don't like. And what I do like right now is that when he gets the ball, his energy levels are high, right? He seems to get and he's moving quickly. And that's what I always want to see in a player. It's the same thing I like Loftus-Cheek for, same thing I like Hudson-Odoi for. So I would be a hypocrite to then not give Willian praise for that, right? When he gets the ball, especially recently in the last 2 games, he's always moving quickly. And it's those little darts inside and then runs inside and starts to, try and make connections. I want to see that. The issue is the end product, which James talked about. Now, of course, Brighton, he scored. Last night he scored 2 good goals, 2 good finishes. Now in Brighton, he missed a hell of a lot of chances. The corner again, like James said, not good at taking corners. And I feel like I would like players like Willian a lot more if they took themselves out of the picture when they're clearly not doing certain things right. So, instance, free kick comes along. Mason Mount wins the free kick. Who's the first one rushing over, trying to suffocate the ball and shove it down their throats? Alonso, Willian. Why? Your free kick record is shocking. You haven't scored a free kick since I was probably in the womb. So why just let Reece James have it? Players that are technically superior. It's fine. You're older. We understand the seniority, but let them take it. So it's little moments like that. Matisse, don't forget, gets a little bit pissed off. It balances out. When everyone is lauding Willian, he's the new king. I'm just like, I'm balancing it. I'm balancing it because he wasn't brilliant in the first half. And another social experiment, halftime thoughts, Willian is lively. You wouldn't believe the slander I got for that sentence.
Oh, wow.
I'm one to usually drag Alonso Willian through the mud. I was like, you know what? Let me take the foot off the gas. Let me be nice today. So halftime thoughts, great cross from Alonso, and Willian is lively. I didn't say Willian was good. I said Willian was lively. Triggered everybody, literally. Dragged me right through the mud again. So just to summarize on that, you can't do anything right on Twitter. That's fact. And then on Willian, whether he's poor in the first half and amazing in the second half, it all balances out to okay. That's it.
Mm.
That's it.
Good point. Good point, man. It's something I should probably try out as well, these social experiments. I really like that. That's good ideas, man. Just reading out some of these quick comments. I noticed something from Michaela. Michaela wrote, Willian is very good at making it look like he gives a shit. Thank you, Michaela. That's quite thoughtful. Ramit said, his energy levels are so high that he runs so fast but forgets to take the ball with him. Nice one, Ramit. I like that one. That's comment of the session so far. Let's continue on. I think we've both covered Willian. Both you guys covered Willian, and I've shared my thoughts as well. At the end of the day, Matisse, I think you've ended it nicely by saying whether you like him, whether you hate him, for some reason, Willian just comes back to the balance, and everyone, he ends up being an okay player, which is just fine as long as he continues scoring goals and winning games for us this season, mate. Good on you. Next up, Reece James. Now, guys, once again, I'll start with James. But James, before I start with you, I want to say, personally, I copped a bit of heat today in regards to Reece James. I did mention in my halftime, thoughts and my full-time thoughts that I personally didn't think Reece James had the best debut. Having said that, yes, there were some really good crosses. There were some nice passes, but his energy, his missed time passes, missed time tackles as well. For me particularly, I don't know if the three at the back and him being a wing back suits him. I think he's more of a classical four at the back and the right back situation where he can just run up and down. He knows his game when we have that formation. But nonetheless, look, I know it's his first game, and I'm more than happy to be patient about him. But what do you think about his debut, James? Give me some of his positives. Give me some of his negatives as well.
Well, I think he had a decent game. It wasn't amazing by any stretch, but again, at that point, you're saying he's better. I think he's much better suited to being a right back than a right wing back, because he's sort of situated like halfway on the field. He's sort of half defensive, half attacking. He's sort of in no man's land, I guess. But we saw against Grimsby, he's so good at making those runs, overlapping runs. So it's kind of limits him a little bit in that sense. But he was slightly off. I guess it's nerves and things with obviously his first Champions League game. So he's obviously going to be a little bit nervous with it. But he still had a decent game, and Lampard enjoyed his performance, he said. So he only took him off because of fitness. That's what he said. So I don't think he was terrible. Obviously, the crossing was just night and day between him and Asby. It's just crazy. What he offers is so crucial for us. He had that cross, which just the goal he just nicks off Sammy's head. So yeah, really, really good in terms of crossing. But for me, he's definitely a right back more than a right wing back. And again, it's just sort of, it seems like square pegs in round holes in this three at the back at the minute. Asby even Asby looked better as a right back than he did as a right centre back. when they switched to the four at the back, which is weird, but it's sort of like, he was okay. He didn't have an amazing game, but he'll obviously improve. It was just with the yellow card he got, kind of needless. He sort of showed his inexperience, and I think
that was a rash tackle. Seriously, that was a rash tackle.
Yeah, I think people who are saying he's going to be walking into this team straight away, he's not going to. Asby has improved a lot since the start of the season, to be fair to him. Obviously not in crossing. That's never been his strength, but he has improved a lot, and he's seen Reece, and that's the competition that you get in the squad when you've got good players. So yeah, he's improving.
Fair point. Now, Matisse, what I want to ask about Reece James before I get your thoughts about his debut, as James said, he's probably more suited as a right back as opposed to a right wing back. I kind of feel the same way as well. I feel like it limits his game to be just right wing back. As James was saying, he's sort of in between. He doesn't know when he's there, when to make those overlapping runs or when to track back. I feel like when he's in the right back position, he truly knows his game. He knows what needs to happen. So first of all, how do you think he went overall in his debut? And also talk about this right wing back and right back sort of situation for him.
Do you know what? I have to disagree with you guys, surprisingly. Which never. When we were managed by Conte, right, we had these. The youth academy seemed to mirror, that's what the youth academy tends to do all the time. It tends to mirror what the first team do, just so if they have an opportunity to break into the team, they already familiarized themselves with the tactics. So when Conte was here, we did play, in the youth team a lot, 3 at the back, 4, and then 3 again. So it was a lot of wing backs. It was either De Silva or James or Maddison or, whoever's available back then at wing back, they played wing back. So I know Reece James definitely has played wing back. So that's the only thing I can see in the thinking with, especially Jody Morris being assistant. He's definitely used 3 at the back in the youth team when he was in charge. He's obviously got, and they obviously have it as their secondary formation when, if there's injuries or change it up a little bit, 3 at the back, because it suits a lot of the young players because they have played 3 at the back before. They should be well used to it. So Reece James should know the position well enough. I don't think that's a reason for his okay performance. I just feel like it's his first game, Champions League. To be fair, that's a huge game for your first game, like your first proper start. Grimsby. And I wouldn't read into it too much. I don't think it's the formation because I think right wing back or right back suits him very well. He's very versatile. He played in centre mid for Wigan. So I don't think he's one of those players that need a certain position. I feel like he can play right wing back. It's a position that gifted Victor Moses when he was here a space on the right hand side. God knows what Reece James would do with that space with his crossing ability. So I don't think it shouldn't limit him. I think he should be able to do that job. He's got loads of energy. He's very dynamic. He's very strong, very quick, very skillful. There's no reason why he can't get up and down. I think there's 2 factors. I think it's his first game. So obviously I think in himself, he may have even been a bit cautious. He was like, apart from that tackle, but it's my first game. Get the basics right, because this is a Champions League away game, must win. I think as he plays more games, he will grow in confidence, and I still think he will displace Aspie pretty quickly if we're playing a back 4. If we're going to play the back 3, then of course Aspie sneaks in there on the right side of centre back. But if we're playing back 4, Reece James should still be in there 100%. Just purely the fact that set pieces, he's going to be stronger than Aspie for defending them and attacking them, and going forward and crossing, he's going to be 10 times better than Aspie. That's 2 things that we're slacking on at the moment. We need that because his technique for crossing is just on another level, and that's why when people tell me, as I'm putting in good crosses, I'm like, that one found a man. Fair enough. But you actually want to go by crossing ability and you want to actually praise good crossing, look at Reece James's crosses, because that man is head and shoulders above anybody at crossing in this team. He picks people out, not fizzes it and gets lucky sometimes, 50% chance rate. He actually looks for people. He actually will get the outside of his right boot against Grimsby and pick someone out. He picked someone out again this game. Abraham should have got there. Is something that I think needs to improve, because there's been so many chances now where the ball is nearly clipping Abraham's head, and I'm just like, if you are gonna lead this team, Drogba gets those, boy. You find a way to get. You're tall enough, so you shouldn't really having so many nearly misses like that. But his crossing is on another level. So I see crosses from Alonso, Aspie, and Willian, and it's just smashed across the box and it's hit someone. Great. Luck. That's partly chance. It's not really technique going in there, because I'm watching the way they put it in as well. I'm not actually just looking at if it gets them. I'm watching the way they wrap their foot around the ball, and it's not like Reece James, and Reece James is the level for that. So that's why I can get very finicky about that. But I would lay off him a lot because it's a massive game at the end of the day, and I think for a player who's not played with the Chelsea first team, apart from Grimsby, this is his first season, to step up from Championship to Champions League level on a yellow card, which is definitely why he came off for me as well. You have to be somewhat cautious with what you're doing, because at the end of the day, Lille are no mugs. They're 4th in the French league. They are a decent team that can cause you problems. And you just, you got to manage your game. So I was happy enough with him. Yeah, I was happy.
No, fair point. I think, definitely I feel like nerves probably got to him, being the first game and being Champions League as well. As you said, he wanted to get his basics right, but you're so spot on about his technique in crossing. You're right. A lot of people cross the ball, but he has a particular way where you can see how he wraps his leg around it and he's trying to find that guy. And just on the point on Tammy, which was really, really important, I personally want to see him score more header goals. I feel like he's really, really missing out on some of these header goals that, someone like Drogba, as you said, would have put him away. We do cross a lot now, and I think so far, Tammy's had one header goal maybe out of the 8 that
against Wolves.
Against Wolves. Yeah. So header goals is something that, one, it looks good. 2, it just shows that, someone's technically very, very sound and just reads the game well. So hopefully you can improve on that. I've got a quick question here from Amir. I might ask this to James. Quick question for you, lads. If we do play 3 at the back again, would you go with Reece James or Azpilicueta at right back, considering yesterday's game? What's your answer on that, James?
I'm going to answer that with a question. Does that really need a question? It's obviously Reece James. Azpilicueta doesn't get anywhere near Reece James if he's a right wing back or right back. Yeah. That's one of those ones that doesn't need answering.
Ruthless response from James. Don't mess with him, man. Just ask him proper questions next time. Nonetheless, thank you for that. Remit quickly, but Eli, we can say this is about the wing position too, as Mount is not a winger, and Pedro, I think they're talking about something else, which we're probably going to touch on a bit later on. Now, let's talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi and his impact. First of all, James, now we've seen 2 off-the-bench performances. Obviously, we saw a performance against Grimsby, which probably wasn't, the best one. Nonetheless, he still got a goal. He probably could have got a hat-trick on that particular match. He was so desperate for that goal. We could see when he scored, he was so desperate. His celebration just said it all. But for me, his attitude off the bench in the last game against Brighton and this one against Lille, as soon as he came on, I just felt some sort of electricity. I just felt like this guy's now just going to take over this game. And he has. So what's your thoughts around, one, his performances, and when can we start expecting him to actually start? And if he does start, so I've got 3 questions here, who's he going to take over? So go on, man.
Well, when he comes on, you can just see he's so energetic, so lively, he runs at people, he takes people on. No one else does that in the team. So he's the only winger that actually does that. So we saw that against Brighton when he came on, and me and Matisse were there. We saw it all, and against Grimsby as well. Every time he's on the ball, the stadium's just it just stopped. Everyone's like, okay, we're going to expect something now. Something's going to happen. He's probably one of the only players in the team, along with Ruben as well, when he's back, that you can actually expect something to happen when they're on the ball. So he's really, really exciting, and he's very direct. So for me, he's definitely one to bring on. He needs to start soon. I'd imagine he starts against Southampton. He's had 2 sub appearances now, so he's surely ready to start. And probably, for me, gets ahead of Mount at the minute, because Mount for me has dropped off a little bit. I know it's controversial, but he's not. I know the pressing from Mount, but I don't know. It's obviously Mount or Willian, but with Willian scoring goals, Mount hasn't been scoring goals, and I know. But I think Hudson-Odoi on the left, he'll obviously play on the left, and that's Mount's position at the minute. It's all about rotation and competition, isn't it? So Mount's played almost a full 90. He picks up a little knock at the end, so I wouldn't be surprised if Mount is rested. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Willian's not been playing badly, not been playing amazingly, but he's scoring 2 goals, and Lampard's been really impressed with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Hudson-Odoi and Willian, just to give Mount a rest, because he's been playing a lot recently. So it's not one I'd say Mount is out of the team forever. It's obviously he will come back in. I'd put him back in for Willian after the international break. Probably have Mount and Hudson-Odoi together. But for me, at the minute, Mount needs a rest. He looks really, really tired, really sort of lethargic in his play. So Hudson-Odoi just brings that energy to the team, and I think that's what's needed at the minute, to be honest.
Yeah, no, agreed, man. I think probably if I was to have Callum Hudson-Odoi starting, I'd probably take Mount off at the moment, depending on the formation as well. Now, Matisse, I want to talk about this particular tweet that you did earlier today, which I believe probably hit 100K likes already as we speak, 5,000 retweets. Now, it was a special tweet, man. It was a really, really good tweet. Now, talk to me about this player. I know you rate this player a lot. What does it mean for us, for our football club? James did touch on the directness. What does it mean for you?
He is huge, and I don't say that lightly. Huge. Without him in the team, we look so stagnated. We look so inability to get past the man. The only way we can really get past players without him is through passing. No one individually can really go past the man properly and then deliver the end product. Just before Willian, before we go with Willian, because I know he can beat a man. Hudson-Odoi has just, like, the thing is with him is even if he's having a quiet game, which is kind of how he was looking against Grimsby before he stepped it up in the second half. So a lot of people were saying, look, Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi first half against Grimsby, they're having similar games. Here's the difference. Hudson-Odoi, when he gets the ball, he drags more people over to him. They're more scared of him because when he gets the ball, he's always, and I spoke about this with Willian earlier. When he gets the ball, he is like 100% speed. He is moving quickly with the ball. He's powerful. He's shrugging people off. He's using his skill and his ability to get past people. He's creating some sort of excitement, some sort of vibe around the team. When you get Hudson-Odoi on the ball, and if you're near him, it is impossible for you to not make a run or not make a movement towards him or not offer yourself a link-up play because his manner, his whole mannerism is so exciting when he gets the ball. You can't just stand there. You look like an idiot. You literally have to get involved. It's contagious. And then when he's on song, I feel like he's one of those players that can make others play better around him. And that's what Hazard was very good at. And obviously, I'm not throwing that comparison out there just because they're playing the same position. I feel like even though Hudson-Odoi is leaps and bounds behind Hazard at the moment, I feel like he is similar ability, if not more ability, Hazard had at that age. And I think he has the potential to be just as influential for this team as Hazard was as well. I see us to him a lot. I see us being, we didn't want to be this when Hazard left, a lopsided team who attacked down the left, but it will happen again because Loftus-Cheek is coming back. If we go 4-3-3, it's all going over there. It's all going over there. Literally, it's going to be the same thing because as much as Willian has improved 100%, and I agree with you guys, I would definitely take out Mason Mount. I think he's looked jaded. I think he's looked ever since that ankle injury. I think he's lost a little half a yard. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not with it, and he's not as influential as Hudson-Odoi is on that left hand side. I still think Mount can come back in the future and he can still have an impact on the team. But right now, Willian deserves to be starting ahead of him because Willian is bringing more all round. Even though Willian's end product is questionable and you don't know when he skips around 2 or 3 people if he's going to pass it correctly or cross, he's more dangerous at the moment in general play. But cannot forget Mount set pieces and what he brings to the team, honestly. Like, he is still needed. This is not a Mount out train starting here because I know a lot of people like to see it. So yeah, Hudson-Odoi is huge. He has to start against Southampton. I was cautious with him in this game and the Brighton game. I cannot wait any longer. I cannot be cautious any longer. He's going straight into my my lineup for the Southampton game if I'm picking it and just run because he's already shown why we almost begged to sign the contract. We had to humble ourselves a little bit. We had to play Monopoly with his brother, his agents, and it wasn't fun. And it hurt a lot of us. We were like, we're a big club. Why are we playing with this 18-year-old kid? Who does he think he is? Just sign the contract. He's good. Get it into your head. He's just good. Bayern Munich don't come after Ribery replacement. Go to the Chelsea Academy if it's a nothing player. He is just damn well good. And if we had lost him to Bayern, we would have regretted it almost immediately. Immediately. It's not one of those players where it's like, even Mohamed Salah, I can say, yeah, it's fine. You did your thing. You weren't good for us. You moved on. You got better. He's a De Bruyne kind of loss. If Hudson-Odoi, we would regret it immediately. So I'm delighted he stayed. He's not on as much money as everybody thought he was. If that pissed you off, there you go. He's still making a lot more than you, but not that much more than you.
No, well said, man. I think you're right. Like,
I'm working for it, honestly. I can't wait to see him more games. He's just incredible talent.
No, you're right, man. I think if we had lost him, now it's so clear to see when he's coming off the bench, the creativity he's creating, the directness, the complete chaos that he creates on the opposition. That's something that our team definitely needs. And I hope he starts against Southampton, man. That's another must-win game. All of these next few games are completely winnable. And, if we can manage to not let in that many goals and have people like Callum Hudson-Odoi who can assist, score goals and whatnot. And I think what got the other thing that I got out of your tweet, although it was funny, but there was a lot of context behind it. I think that tweet was also trying to say that he's improving other players around him. He's not only improving the team, obviously he is, and he's having a great influence, on his own performance, but he's getting the best out of Willian as well. And you never know, with him around, Tammy could get a lot more out of him as well. So it'd be good to see against Southampton. Now, just quickly, a comment from Remit. Ma, a question for you, mate. Do you think that Hudson-Odoi would have been able to break into Bayern squad above Gnabry, Coman, and Pulisic? Wow.
Okay. First of all, Pulisic wouldn't be there. They'd signed him as their backup dancer to show. Like they lost, right? And I have to keep trolling Bayern because they PR and they're talking in press and we want Hudson-Odoi to be our 10 and shut up. Go back to Germany. You don't run England, run Germany. When you go to Germany, you want someone, you take them, you leave, you rob, you demolish, and you go. Don't come to England and try and tap up our players again. Don't do it, honestly. I hope someone was debating this with me in the group chat, actually. They want us to go and get Gnabry just to piss off us. Arsenal, the same damn transfer. Honestly, they will never sell to us again. Like our dealings, our relationship with Bayern is over. It's done. It's finished. Like that's probably done. Like, we're never speaking to them again. First, you have 2012, and then you have this. Oh damn that! You know what? Yeah, that's on the new list of clubs I don't like that have nothing to do with me. The same with Real Madrid and Barcelona. Nothing to do with me. I just now don't like them. He would start. I think Coman is a great young talent as well, but he's had a few injury issues. And I think Pulisic wouldn't be there anyway. So, and he's got more ability than Gnabry. As much as I love seeing Gnabry spank up Tottenham at their new toilet bowl, I do enjoy it. Pleasure. When you don't have a girlfriend, these are the things that keep you tucked in at night. It's good. But Hudson-Odoi is better than all of the players you've just mentioned. So to answer your question, he starts. He wears the armband. He leads them out, and he's got.
So basically, what Matisse is trying to say, Remit, is here's a message just for you. By
Two silly questions. Ask your question.
But yeah, don't feel bad, our viewers. Keep posting those comments. Our guests are just being a bit maniac-ish, I suppose. Now, my next one was I wanted to talk about Mount, but I don't think I want to spend too much time. I think both yourself, James, and Matisse, guys have touched a little bit about Mount, so I don't want to spend too much about him. I may touch up on him when we get to the Pulisic section because that will tie on to a few other football Twitter accounts that are comparing these two at the moment. Now, I want to jump straight into Kepa. First of all, James, I think you probably would have been aware he's copped a little bit of scrutiny over the last month or so. Few people blaming him for some of the goals that we've conceded. I feel it's a bit harsh to blame him solely sometimes on some of those goals that we've conceded. But nonetheless, I think his form was a little bit probably 50-50-ish in the last few games. But, as they always say, form is temporary, talent is permanent. He's the epitome of that particular phrase for me. I feel like he's one of the best in the world at the moment. So how do you think his performance against Lille sort of contributed to the 3 points that we got?
He was one of our best players against Lille. You could see he's much more confident now that he got that clean sheet, and that was massive for him because he's been playing all season having to pick the ball out the back of his net every single game, and that, whether you like it or not, that does affect you obviously because goalkeepers pride themselves on clean sheets, and he's not had any, so that's probably affected him slightly. But I wouldn't say he's been bad all season. He's been as good as he was last season, really. He's had a lot of harsh criticism from people, which really isn't deserved at all. He's been making some great saves. Only thing I would say is his wrists are slightly floppy, but that's the only thing with Kepa. But his passing is great out the back. I mean, I don't know what more you can say from him. He's had a decent season. I don't really see the criticism, to be honest.
Matisse, How do you sort of take some of these? You know, obviously we've all seen some of these tweets on football Twitter about Kepa. A few people are still, wanting to be out of the team and whatnot. I think some of them might be trolls, but there are certain ones that genuinely think that he's not good enough. What's your thoughts, man? Overall reaction towards Kepa.
I mean, I've seen it all. Man. It's been dark out there. I've seen Caballero should start against Lille. Coming. Who is this dude, bro? Coming should be playing. I've seen Booker. Why did we sell Booker and keep Kepa? I swear, I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. He's been okay this season. He hasn't been brilliant, but do you know what? He's been extremely harshly treated. I do agree his wrists need strengthening. I don't know what they wear in boxing if they got the wrist tape. Yeah, just put that in gloves and we move on. His ball playing ability is so ridiculously underrated. Like there was a moment in that little game where, and maybe I was watching a different goalkeeper, but I'm pretty sure I seen him like knee it and then launch someone else's head onto it.
Yeah.
And clear it, which I would have been impressed with. Yeah, if you get the ball and you're just doing knee kick-ups in your box, that's cool. And then you just launch it. I would have been like, yeah, good clearance. We needed that under pressure. No, he actually spots a player to keep possession under pressure. I don't know, man. That guy's he eats different stuff for breakfast clearly than everybody else does. There's no, like when I talk about ice in your veins, that is literally who I think of immediately. He really is just cold when he has the ball. He's so underrated, man. And the thing is with him is what people miss. They're all wrapped up in this youth team. Everybody's young. Give them time. You know how young Kepa is for a goalkeeper? He's basically 20 or 21. No goalkeeper really peaks until they're in their 30s, even their 30, apart from Neuer, who's done it the other way around because he's weird. But everybody else peaks in their 30s. So I don't get why nobody has any patience with Kepa this season. He's so young. He's literally a baby. You can see it in his face. Like De Gea, when he got to this league, was so bad. I remember it so well because I was laughing so hard. And I was like, get this bomb out the club. He's shocking. I don't want to see him anymore match of the day. I can't even watch this. And I'm a rival fan. He's absolutely shocking. They gave him time and look at him. He literally, obviously he's not as good as Kepa because the Spain squad will tell you, but he's decent. He literally carries that club. There's moments where Man United should be, flirting with mid-table and he's literally keeping them respectable at times in games and in the league over the last few seasons. And that's potentially the same thing we have with Kepa. So I think we just need to chill a little bit. I think there's a couple areas I'd like to see him be. I want him to, you know what would really fix this set piece situation is if he was more commanding. No one's, I remember great glory days of Petr Cech. That man would come and collect everything. It doesn't matter. It's the ball, the ref, the opposition player, our player, everybody's getting knocked out. Petr Cech's coming, he takes everything. And the corner is not even a set piece anymore. It's just an opportunity for you to practice your crossing so Petr Cech can practice his catching, and that's it. That's all it is. He literally used to get everything. And if Kepa, the problem is with Kepa is he's not the tallest. It's going to be very hard to do that. So I don't know how, but he's got to find a way of dominating those set pieces, those penalty areas a lot more. Because if he can become a goalkeeper that commands the penalty area and collects crosses, which is I've not seen him do for corners. That's the one thing I would like to see. If he can do that, then we have a complete goalkeeper on the horizon because you get those wrists fixed, shot stop, it just goes up a couple more attributes there on FIFA, and then you have your cross collection and you're done. That's it. You have your goalkeeper. So if we can get that, we're sorted. But that's one area where I would say we need to sort out is the controlling of the penalty area, because whether it's the centre backs who are all 6 foot, you got Zuma, Tomori, Alonso. Everybody tells me about his height and why Sarri picked him because he's tall. Yes, we'll head the ball out. Because if you're not going to head it out from a corner and you're tall, I really don't know what you're doing. Because even Drogba was doing it. Drogba, when he was back, when he was in his prime, he didn't mark a player. He just literally just stood there and attacked the ball. Someone needs to do that. I don't really care who it is. Just somebody needs to do that, whether it's Tammy Abraham or whatever. But we have enough tall players to not concede from every single set piece like Arsenal did. Under like it's honestly it's the stupidest thing I've seen in this team so far. I'm pretty relaxed. I'm pretty patient with everything else, even with Pulisic to some degree, which we'll get onto later. I'm not as like vexed about that situation as I am with the zonal marking in this team. It's honestly a joke. Like, I don't understand how now we can concede so many goals, and it's clear Kepa's probably too small to come and collect, and it's clear we have loads of tall centre backs and a left back and a striker, but yet we're still not man marking. It makes no sense to me. It's so much easier to assign blame when you're man marking. When you're zonal marking, it's like, well, that's not my space. That's on the line. We need VAR because it's not really my zone. I don't need it. No, man. It's touch and go. It's not really my zone. You know, Christensen's in that zone and my zone's free, and I could run into that zone and head it away, but I'm staying in my zone because this is zonal marking. Like, what the hell are we talking about? It happened against Liverpool, Firmino, tucked in between Christensen and Alonso. Grey area. Whose fault is it? We don't know because nobody's man marking. So the quicker we get that fixed, the better. Or just get a defensive coach. I don't know, someone, Carvalho or something. He's coming back. May as well bring in a defender.
No, you're right. I think one thing I really appreciated of that was Kepa not coming out and punching the ball or catching the ball more often than he should. Yeah, touching on that Firmino's goal, Firmino wasn't that far away from Kepa, really. Yeah, that was in the. I reckon that was in the touching distance for Kepa to either punch it or grab it. And similarly, today's goal as well, it wasn't too far away from Kepa, where he could have really just sprinted out and just thrown a punch out there. But I don't know if is it something that he's not so comfortable to do, or he's worried that he's going to make a blunder. But I'd rather him do that and just stand in his goals and letting all these balls just fly past him.
This is the thing. When I because when the slander was happening, I watched every single goal back that we've conceded. I watched all of them about 3 times. And there was only a few, maybe 2 or 3 that I could say Kepa could have done better. But then when I looked back and watched it the second time, there's a few crosses. And I'm like, the reason why he can't save these is because they're so damn close. These are so close. It's impossible to save. And the only way to rectify that is A, we get a centre-back. Like when I came on here last time, I spoke to you about primary centre-backs and how nobody leads. Me and James was there against Brighton. Set piece, and we both tweeted this out. Knowledge. We was defending a free kick, and I was watching, because I love watching stuff that doesn't happen on the ball, because I can go home and watch that on Match of the Day. I can watch that on YouTube. I want to see all the little things. I want to see Barkley, when Aspilicueta's taking a throw in, who shows for the ball more. I want to see Gilmore demand it, and Barkley like, you can pass it to me if you want. I see everything, I'm not joking. I see it all. And the same thing with this free kick. Free kick was coming in, and guess who's marshalling everyone and telling everyone mark up and who should organize? Tammy Abraham. Is he captain? No. Is he a defender? No. Is he experienced? No. I'm like, Aspilicueta, maybe he should be doing this stuff. I don't know. It's honestly, the lack of leadership in the team is embarrassing. And this is probably why we can't hold leads. Because when you're meant to be holding the lead, you need someone who says, calm down, you get into this position, you come back, you do this, you do that. And we have a leader on the ball. We have Jorginho. We have a secondary leader on the ball. In the youth team, Gilmore. Who is the leader off the ball? Nobody. That's why we can't fix up, because when we don't have the ball, nobody knows what's going on. And the people who do know what's going on are not leaders. So it's all beautiful things here.
I think one man, and I think you guys would agree as well, off the ball, I've seen some footage as well, and I feel like Jorginho tries to do, lead off the ball. He definitely leads when he does have the ball. I've seen him how he tries to direct. Now, the issue with Jorginho is sometimes he's part of the defensive rut that starts from the beginning and then drags into the final third. I've seen a few times where, he could have closed down quicker, or he could have chased down. And I guess if you're going to be a leader, you're gonna have to put some of those leadership sort of qualities in your game to demand that. And he does that, but I think he probably needs to improve in those areas. But I completely understand what you said in terms of, with the ball, maybe there is a leader. Without the ball, there's no communication. Who's going to do what? Who's going to mark where? Who's going to be in what position? And you're absolutely right. Let's now move on to the Pulisic situation. I want to touch on this, and it's quite massive at the moment. It's big agenda at the moment. Pulisic. Many people out there have their own vision. Now, I want to first share my thoughts, and I want to go first James and then Matisse. Might take some questions as well from people that have been patiently watching this. Quick shout out to Alex as well for coming into the podcast. Thanks, man. So first of all, Pulisic. Now, when I first saw, going back to the Wolves game, he wasn't part of it. Against Valencia as well, he wasn't part of it when he probably could have. But now this is a bit of a trend for me, right? And in the beginning, I was very annoyed, thinking, why isn't this guy getting a bit more game time? But now, the more and more I think about it, I feel like, well, there must be something wrong here. There really must be something wrong here, because for me, Lampard doesn't come across a particular manager that just shuts someone off. Because if they're doing what they're meant to do, if they are training well, if they are performing and, doing everything that Frank is demanding of a player, it is of Frank's best interest to use that particular player. So I don't buy into this argument that, Frank's biased with, academy players, or, he's not British. Why would it matter for Frank if someone's British or if they're not from academy? He's just there to win. If you're good, he's going to play you. It's simple as that. If Pulisic was really, really good, or what we think of Pulisic is, I can't imagine why Frank wouldn't use him. So for me, it seems like it's a lot deeper than that. It feels like there's something definitely wrong here. Now, James, I want to ask you, there's a lot of stuff that's happening, especially a particular football Twitter account named Football Chelsea, I think, who's very staunch on Pulisic. He's come out and he's tweeted something quite crazy, actually, for my liking, where he said, what has Pulisic done that Willian hasn't done? What has Pulisic done that Mount hasn't done? What has Pedro done that Pulisic hasn't done? And it's copped a lot of heat. And to be honest, I've replied back as well, and I've said that it just doesn't make sense, this particular tweet. Yannick went after him as well. Many other people went after him. Now, what's your thoughts around some of the reactions that you're seeing, and your thoughts around this whole Pulisic saga?
I mean, if we go back to Football Chelsea with that tweet, it's for me, it's only Pedro that doesn't deserve to be ahead of Pulisic at the minute. Willian deserves to be ahead of him. Mount deserves to be ahead of him. They're playing on merit, and Pulisic hasn't shown enough on the pitch yet to be in their team. And I was looking back at Alex's pod, and he had a couple of Derby players on a few months back. And he was saying that he was out the team for about 2 months just because of training. So we obviously don't see the training. Aspi today has said that Pulisic is working well in training, so who knows? But for me, it has to be something to do with that, because Lampard rates training really, really highly, and you can see in terms of that's when Samori first came in, because he hadn't played, and the reason he did play is because he'd been performing well in training. So Lampard values that really highly, and if Pulisic isn't working or isn't doing enough in training, he's not going to play. So I don't know if it's something to do with that. We don't think we ever will know. But for me, it's weird that he's not even in the squad. He's shown promise. Against Grimsby, I was saying to Matisse when we were there, for me, it was like Cho when Cho's on the ball, you sense some excitement. And Pulisic, he wasn't really doing that. He didn't. I would have expected him to sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck and really dominate against Grimsby, but he didn't really do that. So it's like his performances haven't been really that good, and I don't think you can question why Willian and Mount are playing ahead of him, and Hudson-Odoi as well. So for me, Pulisic is behind all of those three at the minute. So it's Lamp's got to make a decision on based on what he thinks. But for me, Pedro's the 5th choice winger, and Pulisic is just 4th behind Hudson-Odoi, Mount, and Willian. So we don't really know what the issue is, but for me, I don't think you can complain too much at the minute.
No. Yeah. Fair point. Now, Matisse, obviously I want to hear your side of it, but I want to touch another question. I want you to answer that as well in the mix of your feelings towards this whole Pulisic saga. Now, a lot of people trying to compare this situation with last season's situation with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, I personally don't think they're similar circumstances. I feel like the treatment is still same. The reason what annoys me at the moment is, obviously you would have seen Alex Goldberg. He's going out there and he's tweeting every 30 minutes about protecting Pulisic lately, and he, he's really, really vocal about that. And I've said it to Alex earlier today in that video that he made, which was being positive about Chelsea, and he threw in some things about Pulisic. And I said, look, I learned a big lesson from him last season where he said to me, when I was going after and protecting Sarri, when he wasn't playing Callum Hudson-Odoi, I said, just back the manager. Just trust the manager. The manager knows what he's doing. He came out and he said, every fan has the right to think the way they want to think. They view the match the way they want to view the match. They interpret the match the way they want to interpret the match. So no one's really negative. Everyone has their own way of looking at the match. And I find it interesting and I'm not saying he's hypocritical. He's got his own thought process around what he thinks about Pulisic, which is, fair point to him. But what upsets me is I feel like the treatment is the same. And this is my issue, where we can't seem to say that, well, last season when some of us who were backing Sarri and when Callum Hudson-Odoi wasn't playing, and we were saying that just he's easing him in, just back the manager. Back then, that didn't work out. Now, this season, when some people are saying that, Pulisic should play, those same people who were against us back last season or opposing us are saying, no, he's easing him in. And that seems to work this season. So I want to get your thoughts around this, and I want to get your thoughts around the whole Pulisic saga. Go ahead.
Well, I did, as soon as the lineup come out, I did debate Alex on this topic because I was obviously pissed off. And I'm not usually one to jump the gun with Pulisic. Just this particular instance pissed me off, and I'll explain why later on. I think, and I debated him, and obviously we both disagree on how important that decision was from Frank Lampard. I feel like it was stupid. I'm not going to lie. I cannot see a reasoning for it based on what we know as fans, which is very little. And I'm going to go into detail in a minute about that. I can't find a reason as to why Pulisic is not on the bench over Pedro, and secondly, not on the bench over a second striker. Why do we have two strikers on the bench, one winger, and no Pulisic? Giroud's not playing that many games. Pulisic has played games. Giroud, he's been probably more promising than, no, he has been more promising than Giroud. So why is he not on the bench over Giroud? Pedro has been utter shit. I'm sorry, but he has been poor. He has been working hard, yes, that's great. But that's the same damn shit Mason Mount does, and people tell me he only works hard. Where's the end product? Mason Mount has shown end product. Pedro has not. His decision-making has been shocking. Against Grimsby, him and Barkley's decision-making was shocking. They couldn't find Pulisic's runs. Pulisic wasn't the most, he doesn't have maybe the same personality on the ball that Cho has that we were speaking about earlier. He's a different type of winger. So that's something we're going to have to get used to. He's not exactly your most explosive winger. He was very explosive the first second when he came on at Old Trafford and turned in Wan-Bissaka inside out. But since then, we haven't really seen that level of pace about him. Brilliant against Liverpool on the left wing. And then, he's had subpar performances since then. But if you watch that Grimsby game, especially in the first half, the amount of runs this boy made on the right flank, not spotted. Yeah. There's so many clips, not just the one of Barkley doing a back heel and thinking he's freaking Ronaldinho or Zidane in the middle of the park when there is a simple ball set Pulisic free on the right wing, misses it completely. So if Pulisic is going to play, first of all, what we need in midfield is some vision. And secondly, we need to actually establish what the hell is going on, because we're not going to get any answers, because we know Frank Lampard is not Sarri. He's not going to be completely honest in the press conferences. He's shown that already by saying Barkley's the first choice penalty taker when that was complete bullshit. And by the way, I respect it because it was smart. It stopped the media from doing a big rumble of drama on our club. But it was clearly bullshit. We all knew that was not the case. There's no way Barkley takes penalties ahead of Jorginho. That's just stupid. He's not going to tell us what's going to happen. And I can only, as a fan, use evidence and use things that I have seen and put together a conclusion based on what I am seeing. And then when he tells us what's going on, then obviously issue is not an issue. Pulisic came back early, not on time, early from his holiday to work. So I don't really see how he's walking into Cobham not working hard. I don't see it. I don't see his work rate dropping. I don't see him as the player who's going to come all the way from Germany, where he's been since 14, 15, come to a massive club like this with all this pressure, with that massive price tag, and not work hard. He doesn't strike me as that individual. I've seen all of his interviews. I've seen him come back early from holiday. I've seen him graft. I've seen him work hard since he was a youngster to come from America to Germany on his own and graft to get into that Dortmund team. I don't think now Pulisic is like, fuck it. Oh, who gives a shit? I don't want to work hard anymore. I'm at Chelsea now. Doesn't make any sense. So the only thing that makes sense is that he's either not taking the tactical knowledge in, and I don't know exactly how much tactical knowledge Frank's given them, no disrespect, but it's not exactly Sarri level information. I can see what they're trying to do in terms of the pressing. I don't think, this myth of Pulisic doesn't work hard. I think that's complete rubbish as well, because I've seen him work hard. He does track back. Just because he doesn't run around like a headless chicken doesn't mean he doesn't work hard. There's distance covered, and then there's actual watching what distance you're covering, and pressing the goalkeeper in the 88th minute. It's probably not the smartest thing to do. I think right now, as James said, he's clearly not the best winger at the team. That's obvious. So I wasn't angry that he didn't start. It was just that he wasn't on the bench. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous, considering who was on the bench. I thought that was dumb. I thought that was really, really random, and I need some sort of explanation for that. I'm not one of these people that are saying Pulisic is a better winger than Mount, so Pulisic starts, and if Mount scores 40 goals, Loftus-Cheek just takes his position. It's based on who's playing well as much as it is on ability, and Pulisic doesn't deserve to be starting games based on form. Willian has been more dangerous. Of course, there's the other side of his game, which needs clarity, and Pulisic is probably far better at, chance creation and making the good decision making. So I actually wouldn't even put Willian way ahead of him. I would just say that Willian is going to get you, Willian in general is going to probably impose himself on the game a lot more. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, when he gives the ball away or when he skips past two people, he's going to probably bring himself into general play a lot more than Pulisic is. But end product-wise, I'd still go Pulisic is probably going to be more reliable over the course of the season. And then you look at where he's played well, as I said, left wing. Are you going to move him to left wing and put Cho on the right? I've said it. I've said it's a possibility because I still think Hudson-Odoi is very good on the right, but he's obviously clearly naturally gifted on the left. So are you going to sacrifice, as I said in my poll, are you going to sacrifice Hudson-Odoi and put him on the right to, bring back Pulisic, or are you not? It's 50-50, like what you want to do with Pulisic at this point. But for me, he should have been in the squad. And if he's going to prove himself, which is clearly what he needs to do because he's not in the favour, how is he going to do that if he's not on the pitch? Bringing up Bernardo Silva, great point. Came to Manchester City, played in a similar position, although be it in a different way, and although be it there was 10 times better competition, may I say, ahead of him. So let's put that out there. He was trying to get in at De Bruyne and David Silva, not Willian and Pedro. Moving on. He was still on the bench and he still came off of the bench. And if he's going to impress, he needs to be in the squad. Not being in the squad is not productive. He's 21. Last time I checked, Pedro's old as hell and Willian's in the last year of his contract. And it's a free season. This is what you told me. So if it's all of these things, there needs to be some sort of logical thinking as to where, okay, they're all kind of the same-ish level. You can't tell me Pulisic is way worse than Willian, and you can't tell me he's worse than Pedro. You just can't do it. If you're going to tell me that, you need to tell me why, and you need to sit me down and give me tea and everything, because you just cannot tell me that this boy is playing so badly that he's not in the squad. And then if you're picking between Pedro and Pulisic, who should be in the squad, who is it more valuable to? It's not a competition, because we're building a long-term project, and whether you like it or not, the kid costs 60 million. And people like to pretend like it doesn't matter. It does. Because price tags are an expense. And when you create yourself an expense, you create expectation. I'm not blaming Pulisic because he's not in control of the price, but we need to see Pulisic because he cost a lot of money. It's the same with Morata. If he didn't cost anything, I wouldn't give a crap that he's shit. But he's not. He cost a lot and he needs to play and he needs to score goals. When you buy an expensive car, you expect it to go faster. This is just facts. And if you're not going to put him in the squad, I don't understand what is going on, because we just don't have enough quality out wide in general. We just don't. The depth is not there. That's kind of why Mount's out there. So if you're not going to put Pulisic in the squad, I need answers. Otherwise, for me, it's a mistake. Until then, it's a mistake because I don't see him going into training and not working hard. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think, yeah, man, you've nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. A couple of things I want to say is, one, about the tactical side of things. You've mentioned that. For me, it's strange that he's not even in the bench. Like, I get it. Okay, he might not start for whatever the reason is, but to be not in the squad, I don't understand. Like, is it a disciplinary thing maybe for the comments that he made last week? Like, who knows? And if it's particular tactical knowledge that Frank's not getting out of him, I don't understand how a player like Pulisic, who's so experienced in international level, captain of America, yeah, he's captain, heaps of experience in Champions League, how he can't understand tactics. And let's face it, what's Frank's tactics at the moment? High press, high intensity, track back. He wants a lot of running. How can Pulisic not understand that? Like,
to build on that, the amount of people that said Barkley was going to be rejuvenated because the tactics are simpler. So why is it complicated? You can't have your cake and eat it. It's either the tactics are brain dead simple or they're complicated. And if they're complicated, then he's sorry. And if he's not complicated, then I don't see why Pulisic doesn't understand the tactics. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. For me, as well, just to add on that as well, the tactics of Lampard is the high press and the running and stretching the team and stretching the defence. That's Pulisic's game. That's what he does. So it doesn't make any sense to me that he's not even on the bench, because coming on, especially against a team right at the end of the game, even if he came on, he'd stretch them even further and cause more problems. So it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Even this season, stretching teams. He was playing in the same role Mason Mount is playing now, and he was doing arguably, if not a better job, at stretching teams away from home to RB. Was it RB Leipzig we played? Was it Salzburg?
Yeah.
Salzburg, I think.
Salzburg, yeah.
Yeah, away from home, stretching the team, running in behind, off Tammy Abraham, creating chances. I don't understand why he's not on the bench, because last season we complained we don't have off the ball runners. Everybody's coming towards the ball. Everybody's looking for the ball. So we have Hudson-Odoi, who coming to the ball, but he's good at it, so fair enough. Pedro coming to the ball, always. Willian coming to the ball, always. So where's the variety? Pulisic, run off the ball. A player that's not addicted to being, maybe he should be to get into the team, I don't know. A player that's not addicted to attracting himself to the ball. When we have the ball, he doesn't run towards it. He actually looks to stretch a team in behind. And especially how that complements Tammy Abraham's build-up play, which has been superb recently. It just makes no sense. Literally none.
Absolutely. Just a quick comment, Michele. You know how he throws in some amazing comments. It just makes me laugh. He just said, Frank said, Michi is working hard, but Pulisic isn't. Not fun.
Get angry.
Now, what I want to ask both of you guys is some of the criticism that's coming out of this whole Pulisic scenario. You've got one part of the fan base. I think there was a infamous tweet from Singer a few days ago where he said, "Oh, I think I know why Pulisic is not starting. He doesn't have a British passport." A few other people have made some other cheeky comments about Frank Lampard, being biased towards academy players. How do you guys react to that? I'll start with Matisse and I'll go towards James. Personally, I don't feel like that's completely fair towards Frank.
I see, because I know Singer, like obviously we've spoken all last season and we're all good friends. I know that's tongue in cheek. I know that's a joke. He's very good at triggering people and, he's pressing buttons there. He's smart. So that's not serious from him. But there are people that fully believe that that is a serious reason as to why Frank is not playing him. And
that's why, yeah.
As much as I'm confused about why he's not playing, I'm not going to start creating brain dead conspiracies. I'm just not going to do it. And I use the word brain dead because how can a player like Frank, who was in a Chelsea team at its peak, surrounded by internationals from all over the world, barely any English players apart from Terry and Ashley Cole really at their prime, why is he now addicted to English players? Where's that come from? Why is a man who's in his dream job with everything on the line, he's never going to get a more important managerial job than this one? He's just not. This is it. It's very soon. It's the be all and end all for like in terms of where he's going to look back and be like, my career as a manager, this is the one. This is it. Why would he put why would he add a bias? His job is already difficult enough. He doesn't need anything else to make it more difficult. This is not an easy job. It's not one of those jobs. It's not like Pep Guardiola, who, he's got a perfect squad and they play perfect football. And he's just probably sitting in his office. He's like, I'm bored as shit, man. Honestly. What am I going to do? All right, Sané, bench. I don't like you right now. Bernardo, we'll defend you. Yeah, screw it, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, he probably gets bored and he's like, all right, we need to shake things up here because he'll just drop Aguero when he scored a hat-trick just to keep things interesting. Frank needs more commotion. He needs no more distraction. There is more than enough going on. Trust me, there's loads. I can think of 100 things that he could deal with other than this Pulisic saga. So I highly doubt the American who's come back from holiday early to train under him all pre-season and done very well in pre-season. We talk about Barkley, but Pulisic was pretty damn good. I remember everybody getting pretty damn flustered. I don't think he now has an agenda against Americans. I don't see it.
James, what do you recommend? How do you feel? I suppose, you guys are going to the matches as well, and then you see some of these tweets that come out. How does that make you guys feel that, legend like Frank Lampard sometimes gets treated like that?
It just doesn't make sense to me because in terms of this, like the American and English bias thing, it's not a thing. Like the English players that are playing, you've got Tammy, Mason, and Fikayo. They're all playing on merit because they actually deserve to be in there. They're better than everyone else in their positions. And Pulisic isn't better than Willian at the minute, and isn't better than Hudson-Odoi, and isn't better than Mount at the minute. So that's the reason he's not playing. Well, one of the reasons anyway. So the criticism Lampard's getting for that is just doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. I think people just try and make up. Again, we'll go into the positive versus negative thing in a minute, but that's links to it, isn't it? In terms of just making an excuse for the sake of it, to be honest.
No, absolutely right. Now I think we've covered the Pulisic saga. I think we've got wide variety of takes on it. I think all of us have our ways of seeing it. I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is he still deserves some sort of position in the bench at least. He's not that bad that he's not even in the bench. And as Matisse said as well, the price that we've paid for him, let's use that. It's a big expense that we've made, and it's not like he's a bad player. He's definitely not a bad player. He provides a lot of things that our team could work on. So anyway, let's move on to the next part, which is positivity versus negativity, and we'll wrap it up after this. Alex Goldberg tweeted something earlier, just after the match, and he tweeted something last week as well, which I found very interesting off the back of last week's match. Last week when we won against Brighton, he started off his video by saying, I'm only going to focus on the positives today, and I'm not going to touch about the negatives. And I found that quite strange. I was like, well, I mean, why do you need to just be you, mate? Like, just say it how it is. Like, you don't need to balance the world. Alex Goldberg shouldn't be there to balance the world. You say it how it is. And then again today, he's like, I'll have my hands behind my back, and I'm not going to, move it around because it could get quite bad. I've seen a lot of negativity and da-di-da-di-da, and I'm going to focus once again. And he was talking about positivity and negativity. And I think, look, all of us respect him. We've all had some sort of good, open discussions with him. But at times, I personally sometimes feel that, I don't know, I don't feel like sometimes he probably wants to say something, but I don't know, he doesn't really want to say it out at times the way he really thinks about things. Like, for instance, today he talks about positivity and negativity, and he called out the large accounts of football Twitter, and he's surprised how they're being negative. And look, football Chelsea, for example, his comment about Mount being crap, I think that was just purely out of frustration. There are a lot of things that football Chelsea does say that make sense. Yes, there are a lot of stuff that probably a bit borderline, but as I said earlier, each to their own. They all view their matches on their way. Matisse looks at the matches his way, which could be very different to how you see it, James, which could be very different to how I see it. For example, my analysis, how I do with my GIFs and the videos, is totally different to how Noman does it. Noman does it with his, with the arrows and the diagrams. He looks at a particular like a snapshot of a situation, and he tries to work out what's going on. And it's totally different to what I do. We all have different ways of seeing things. And I can't say that, none of us are if you're a true believer of Chelsea and you back Chelsea, I don't think any of us are actually negative about Chelsea. They all got different interpretation. Now, what I want to ask, and I'll start with James this one. How do you, Alex says that negativity sells and positivity doesn't. I disagree with that. What's your thoughts around, you're one of the ones who's got a nice following, and you generally don't tweet any negative stuff. You've got criticism, but you don't tweet negative. So what do you feel about that particular comment?
For me, it's about realism, and that's on Twitter. It seems to be mostly negative because it is. I think people go on Twitter to vent on their thoughts and things, and it just gets naturally it just gets negative, and then you sort of get into the spiral of people being overly negative. That's where football Chelsea's gone with Mount, in terms of calling him crap when he's not crap, is he? Because he's contributing with the press, and he's contributing goals, he's creating chances. So that's for me. It's people get overly negative, people get overly positive. Like Alex did with that video, only focusing on the positives. People are like sort of trying to paper over the cracks with the positives. For me, you've got to be objective and look at the games and what's actually happening. And there's positives and negatives in that. And that's for me how it should be. People can have their own opinions and be positive if they want, be negative if they want, but there's not only negatives and there's not only positives. So for me, there needs to be a balance. And some of the bigger accounts, they do lean towards the more negative side because that does get more traction in some cases, especially in terms of players that a lot of the fan base don't like. You'll see people slate Willian or Alonso, and that'll get more traction because a lot of people agree with it, and that creates more negativity. So for me, there needs to be a balance and being constructive with it, especially in terms of Willian. Recently, he's been really, really good for the last couple of games. So he doesn't need to have any negativity on him that I'm still seeing on Willian. So for me, you need to be objective with it and be balanced, not overly negative, not overly positive.
Absolutely right. Matisse, what's your thoughts, man?
I don't agree with Alex on that. The fact that negativity gets more traction. I think both gets traction. I've seen positive tweets get a lot of damn traction. When they're clearly just, some people will tweet positivity just for the sake of tweeting it, just so they appear like, love all the players, back Chelsea. You're not saying that in the pub, man. You're not saying that in the pub when you're swearing, or when I'm next to you at the, if I'm next to someone at the ground, one of these people that will come on Twitter and be like, oh, back every player, yeah. But when you've had a few pints, you're saying quite a few fair swear words in the ground, George. But suddenly, stuff out. It's
bad on George.
I've never understood it. Like, I've done a lot of social experiments in my time on Twitter, and I've never understood this aspect of people at the match will be pissed, They'll be angry. They'll say what they need to say. They'll even boo a player sometimes, like Jorginho, or they'll shout abuse. They'll do what they want. You take that and put it onto Twitter and put it into characters, there's war. I don't understand. So I don't get this obsession with like get rid of every negative opinion. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Hold on, let me just quickly. My laptop's charging. So
Yeah, me too. My laptop was running out of battery.
yeah. So there's been times where I've tested this. I've had a positive thought on a player from the game before. I've tweeted it. I've seen what numbers it's done. I've had a negative thought on another player. Tweeted that afterwards. See what traction it's done. And it's usually actually the negative one that gets less. But it depends on the game. It depends on what's happened. Now, people watch the game differently, as I spoke about earlier. And I think a lot of people forget that. They think just because you're watching the same pitch, you're going to see it the same way. So I will not always watch the ball, right? So we can have possession and I might miss something because I'm watching someone else. I'm literally watching one player, just watching him for 2 seconds because I want to see what he does. Because I've seen a few things that he's done in recent games and I just want to see if he's still doing it. Little things. Like I said, with the hand gesture of Barkley, I will watch all of that stuff. I prefer watching the small things than I do watching the ball because I can see all that stuff afterwards. Whereas in live time, this is the stuff that won't be on YouTube. So if you say, I need to go and watch a game, see how it went, you won't get all of these small snippets. You won't get a moment against Brighton where first half, I said to James, ball came out onto the left-hand side, 2v1. The right back had the ball. No, we had the ball, and it was just the right back on Brighton, literally just the right back. And Willian and Alonso were on the left. Alonso had the ball. Willian he didn't make any run. He didn't move. And then it was a 2v1. But I guess they didn't notice that it was, and the ball just went back. So those are little things. So I think people will watch it differently, and especially if they've got a player that they like or they really don't like, they might focus in on that player a lot more. And I feel like sometimes people will definitely, if they've got a favorite player, they will try and stay away from criticizing them. I've done it with Loftus-Cheek where he's had spells where he could have played a lot better in the past, and I've just been like, I don't really feel like saying that out loud. We don't really say that. Because a lot of people watch the game with their own past thoughts to the game. Do you know what I mean? So if you and we all do it really, if you don't like a player, you like a player, that has some influence of what you're watching on the pitch. So if you've gone into the game not liking Mason Mount and then he scores a goal in exactly the way you discredited 20 minutes ago, saying work rate's not important, saying what does he bring to the team when he's clearly now got 2 goals from closing down opposition? It's not luck. This is his role. If that happens again and again and again, you look silly. So these are the things that come into play when people are now taking from what they've seen in the game and then going to put it on the keyboard. There has to be it's going to be like skewed. It's not going to be the whole truth because they have to cover up a few things to keep themselves in check. I'm not a fan of the whole I've never been a fan of it. I've never been a fan of only positivity. I think I've always felt the timeline has been balanced. I don't feel like anybody needs to balance it out. Like you said with Alex there, just going with the positives. I don't feel like he needs to do that. More than enough positive merchants there. There's more than enough negative merchants, and there's more than enough people that are balanced. I don't ever feel like the timeline is going one way or the other. Of course, it's reactionary as well, which I tried to test again by asking if people want Sancho or Gnabry. Luckily, they didn't let me down and still went with Sancho. But the timeline is pretty balanced most of the time. I don't feel like it's ever this wave of one thing. And it also depends on how much you regard others' opinion. I would much prefer listen to you guys, my mates, what you want to hear than someone with a massive following. Just because they have a massive following doesn't mean that I'm going to hold their opinion higher. Do you know what I mean? So it depends who you actually speak to and who you follow. So I don't buy into all of that because, and I also don't even buy into the fact that big accounts can spread, a massive, like Alex may be on his own in this one, that he can probably spread quite a massive, opinion quite easily with hashtags and whatnot. because his following is he's very influential. But most big accounts, they're not really that influential. They're not really that influential with their following. Most people had those opinions anyway and just gravitated to that account. Not that account has suddenly created this massive whirlwind. Alonso is trash and everybody believes him. He's the next scientist. He's broken this story. Nobody knew this before. They knew it already. I've tried it. I tried praising Alonso at halftime. I tried praising Willian. My comments weren't happy. So it doesn't matter what I do. People are still going to have their opinions. So I don't feel like we should assign blame and assign responsibility to big accounts, who, by the way, are still just fans and just people, to somehow change their course of opinion to suit the climate of the club, to try and force positivity. People can see forced positivity. There's no point trying to force it out of them. If people are actually happy, you will see it, and you will see it in their tweets. There's no point saying, "Oh, can you not be this? Can you not be that? Can you not be this? Can you not be that?" It's baked. It's really obvious when someone's faking it. And my followers clearly copped onto it at halftime. So there you go.
No, you're right. Like, I mean, see a lot of comments from Con, see a lot of comments from PYS. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, I think it's PYS. A few other people as well. And I genuinely don't think, especially Con. Like, I've actually been following Con quite closely in recent times.
I like Con.
Yeah, Con's pretty good actually. Like, his points may sound like or give the vibe that he's being negative, but it's not. He's actually stating, some truth behind it. You take the emotions out of it, there's some substance behind it. But people don't want to hear that from anyone. They just want to hear, "Oh, XYZ did well, we won, and that's it." If that was the case, then how boring would football Twitter be? Everyone's just talking about the 3 points and how happy it is. When you look back, the game wasn't that the greatest from us. Yes, we got the 3 points, but it wasn't the greatest game. So you got to say it the way it is.
No, Con is very good for that. He used to be, and he'll admit this himself, he used to be like borderline, maybe generic. He would just put out, that you get those accounts that will tweet out just the popular opinion. Like, they'll see what's happened in the game, they'll take a moment from it and they'll tweet it out, and it's basically what everybody's thinking, everybody loves it, and it will blow up and it will do well because that's just exactly what people wanted to hear at the time. Con maybe used to do that a little bit. He's way more honest now. You can tell he's so much more passionate when he tweets. Like, you can tell everything that he's tweeting, he means it. He's not pissing out. And I love that about him. He's really honest with it. And I tell you, what you made a great point there is that just because we win, it doesn't mean necessarily it's positives. Just like when we lose, it doesn't mean it's necessarily negatives. I've been happier with the overall performance and been more optimistic after some defeats than I have been after some wins. There's been games where we've won and I've been like, Jesus Christ, that was an absolute shambles. Even against Brighton, I was so troubled by that Barkley performance in the first half that when I did the fan cam afterwards, I was never not going to bring it up. And people were like, Sophie was interviewing me and she was like, she was trying to get the positivity out of me. I was like, nah, because Barkley just had an absolute shocker, and I need to say it. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush and paper over the cracks because we've beaten Brighton. What was it? 2-0 in the end? Got a clean sheet. Won, brilliant, but there was an issue there. Massive. The first half was shocking. If you told me that after the first half we weren't going to win that game, I would have been like, yeah, probably won't win it. And it's okay to be honest about that. You don't need to, after a win, just go on this massive high and just like shoot yourself into the atmosphere in some sort of whirlwind. Just rein it in. And when you think about the full-time thoughts, think about the whole 90 minutes. That's what people miss. When many people are doing full-time thoughts and it pisses people off, we're talking about the whole 90 minutes. If you remember back far enough to when you were pissed off in the 10th, because a lot of people at full time, they just want the second half. I'm not giving you the second half. It's really important. You know what? You guys will probably know this from tweeting a lot and having good followings. People read. People really don't read. And it's only after you read some tweets, you're like, oh, I see what you mean now. And I'm guilty of replying to people. If I'm replying to a lot of people and someone's just pissed me off, I reply to someone else, I might just continue, do you know what I mean, without actually separating each person and being like, okay, right, this person was annoying, but this person isn't. If you read the tweets, it says full-time thoughts. That means the whole game.
Yeah.
People, they get caught up in the end, the last minutes, the last couple crosses from Lonzo, the last goal from Willian, the last moment, the whole game. We're talking about the whole game, because I'm not here to, like, a lot of people are like, oh, just support, just back. I'm actually not just here on Twitter to do that. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's what a lot of people don't understand about Football Chelsea. They don't understand about Con. They're not here to go, okay, yeah, I like the club. I love the club. A lot of people do that on here. They like, that's how they use Twitter. They enjoy it. Like, they come onto Twitter, they talk to their friends, they say they support Chelsea, and they leave. Some of us are actually here to talk about what's going on the pitch. We're invested in what's going on tactically. So when Sarri comes last season and some people are like, what is Sarri ball? Learn. And if you don't care, fair enough. But don't scrutinize people who have taken the time to go and learn what Sarri ball is and then come back with the information. People are invested in the game. What happens on the pitch? Some people watch it differently. Some people want the atmosphere. I would actually prefer to really watch the game. I sat in the West Upper, and even though there was no atmosphere, I wanted to see what was going on. Because if you're in a crowd and there's atmosphere, you lose that. And I can get that atmosphere at the pub. Do you know what I mean? I can get a similar atmosphere. When I'm at the game, I would much rather, I really want to see what's going on in the flesh. So it's all about different people, watching the game differently. So I think the days of scrutinizing how people do it are probably over, in my opinion.
Oh, man, absolutely well said, man. Seriously, I mean, so many times I've copped it when I've said something about Alonso and Willian. I've said it before as well to you guys, and people seem to be so caught up, as you said, on the last cross of the 95th minute, just before the whistle went, where Alonso, might have put in a really good cross, and everyone just remembers that. Everyone, it's so fresh in their mind, and they just remember that, and they forget every other time that Tomori has covered his ass. And but anyways, fantastic episode. We have gone well over the mark, but I feel like we've talked about so many good quality stuff. And I hope the viewers get something out of it, and I will take some snippets of it and make a trailer, and hopefully people can get feel for it. Just before we go, I want to give you guys the opportunity to do your plugins and tell us all about some of the things that's happening. First of all, James, tell us everything that's going on in your area with all things Chelsea and all the other stuff that you're doing.
Well, yeah, we've got, obviously, with all things Chelsea, with the publication, getting the articles out and things. So, yeah, follow that up on Twitter at allthingschelsea_. And then, obviously, me on Twitter is FTBLJames_. So, follow those, and then you know what you're doing.
100% follow those, man. I'm in there. Check me out. That's a plug-in from me.
Yeah. All things Chelsea.
Matisse, talk to me, man. Well, you're up to like 10,000 things, man. So just limit to maybe 3.
It's funny because we're all actually part of All Things Chelsea. I'm not even going to plug my own page because I just plug everything that I'm doing and then you can go from there. But like, obviously, All Things Chelsea, as James said, go to that. The best publication, doing great work. We've got friends. We've got articles. We ain't even taking no digs. We ain't even taking the piss about no drama going on recently. We ain't, all right?
Staying out of it.
Staying out of it.
All things Chelsea. I'm not involved in the drama. All things Chelsea. W6 Daily, another great page. We're putting a lot of creative content out there. So videos like this with me and Miz are on there. An occasional thread, but mainly it's the wallpapers, the edits, the artwork. Some seriously talented boys in there. So check out W6 Daily on Twitter as well. And I've just started up with Blues TV, which you will also, I don't really need to go into more detail, but basically fan cams should be every home game, looking to take over on there and just hopefully give reactionary opinions.
I love it, man. It needed to happen. It's as James said, it's realism and it's the best. So much better. I love watching the fan cams post-match. And it's great to have Blues TV like the comments as well, which is fantastic. Feels good that they're actually going through and reading everything, which is fantastic. Well, before we end up, massive thank you for everyone that's joined in, few of them probably left due to work or whatever the case is. I think Eli, it's quite late actually in New Zealand. So yeah, thank you, Eli. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Ramit, I think was there earlier on. And thank you, Amia. So yeah, massive thanks for these guys for joining in. And thank you guys for coming along. And that's a wrap. See ya.